things. One is going to be presented by Dr. Shweta, who was our colleague from Hyderabad, and she's going to talk to us about predictors of pH in scimitar syndrome and their experience with the same.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to congratulate Prashant and Snehal ma'am for organizing such a wonderful academic feast with all the stalwarts on such a rare topic that is pulmonary arterial hypertension. We all are learning from each other. So my topic is predictors of pH in scimitar syndrome. So we know this scimitar syndrome for almost more than 50 years, and we all know that it can present from asymptomatic status to severe pH with congestive cardiac failure, or they can come as an incidental diagnosis of dextrocardia, and then when we go on evaluating, we come to know that there is a scimitar syndrome. So as I said, that this is not a new entity and lot of literature is available on this, but we still know that the infantile cases have the severe pulmonary artery hypertension, and they tend to have more bad outcome in the form of pneumonectomy, lung transplant, and subsequently death, where all these treatments are not available, to the group where it's a non-infantile form and no pulmonary artery hypertension is there. They tend to have a good outcome. So what determines actually the pulmonary artery hypertension in this substrate is the question is still unanswered. And this is what we have done at our center to determine, is there a lung pathology which is contributing to this. So as we know that the pulmonary artery hypertension is the most important determining factor for morbidity and mortality in the outcome of this substrate. So why there is a possibility of pH in scimitar syndrome? There are a number of postulates for this. There can be abnormal lung as a development itself. There can be increased pulmonary blood flow, accessory blood flow from a collateral, and a sequestrated lung field, or there can be a scimitar vein stenosis. So ours is a single center study where we have correlated pulmonary artery hypertension with the age and with the lung volume, which was not done earlier, or the presence or absence of collateral. Does it matter in development of pulmonary artery hypertension as postulated earlier? So we have excluded all congenital heart disease in the form of post-tricuspid shunt, and as far as possible, the scimitar vein stenosis by echo or wherever the cath was done was also tried to be excluded from this. So overall, there were 27 cases where 2 post-tricuspid shunts were excluded, and they were divided by the age, less than 1 year and more than 1 year of age. So an infantile group has 15 cases, out of which 80% had severe pH, which correlated with the previous data, and only 4% of, only 34% of the cases which were non-infantile group had moderate to severe pulmonary artery hypertension. This correlated with the previous study. So what we tried to do, whether the lung volume, especially the right lung volume, contribute to the pulmonary artery hypertension in scimitar syndrome, we tried to determine. So we have this Siemens-Somerton definition, and we tried to calculate the lung volume by CT scan. And a 64-slice dual source CT scan was done, and the volume was calculated by manual outline of the lungs in the axial section, and it was confirmed on the sagittal view that we are mapping only the lung field, and specific household units were designated before outlining the lung field. And after outlining that, we have come to the finding of right lung and the left lung, and we will get the volumes with this volume software which is available with the CT scan that will determine the right lung volume and the left lung volume. And then we also perform the VRTs on this to see if there is any structural abnormality of the lung, like a horseshoe-shaped kidney, or there is any tracheal abnormality. And we can obviously see that there is a disparity between the right lung size and the left lung size. So usually the right lung, which is bigger in normal human being, but here we can see that the left lung appears larger than the right lung. So the right lung volume was indexed after acquiring the data, either by the fractional, that is from the expected right lung volume, and we will get the number in the percentage, and that was also indexed to the body surface area. There is this article which has come in the Journal of Spine where they have calculated 1050 normal CT scan of the chest, and they have come up with the normal right lung and left lung and total lung volume in the children. So we have taken this as a normogram and we have plotted our data in this normogram to decide whether it was falling in the normal range or it was falling below the expected percentile. So out of 27, the 13 patients underwent right lung volume, and as we can see that in the infantile age group, the observed lung percentile was less than 10%, and only one patient where there was it was a 1 month child and 58th centile was the observed lung volume and the PA pressure was normal. And then there was this patient who is 1 year old and the observed lung volume was significantly less, that is less than 10 centile, but there was normal PA pressures. But otherwise, wherever the lung percentile was less than 25%, the PA pressures were significantly high. That we have even seen that the infantile form has the severe pulmonary artery hypertension. And then the older age group, where the expected lung volume fallen in the percentile of 25th to 58th centile, the PA pressures were normal. So as I said, this was plotted in the graph which is presented by this normogram of the article which was presented in the Journal of Spine, and we can see that the red mark suggests that there is significantly lower right lung volume seen in the infants and they have severe pulmonary artery hypertension, where the older age patients have fallen the lung volume which is between more than 10th centile, or they can be even normal volume, that is 25th to 58th centile. Then we have correlated the lung volume, that this percentile, to the PA pressures, and we found that there is only two patients who has less than 25th centile had mild pulmonary artery hypertension, but all else where the lung percentile was more than 25th centile had normal or no PH. So this was a significant correlation between the lung volume to the pulmonary artery pressures. And then the percentage that we have determined to the pulmonary artery pressure, we can see in this graph, as the percentage increases, the pulmonary artery pressures drops. And here, where the expected percentage of right lung volume is less, the pulmonary artery pressure is very high, that is almost between 50 to 80 millimeters of mercury. And then this is a visual impression of the VRTs of the two patients with Scimitar syndrome. So on the left side panel, this is an adult who has the Scimitar syndrome. We can see right side lung appears almost normally well developed from the visual point of view. And here is a baby who is an infant where there is a significant right lung volume loss which can be seen. Then there is a correlation of pulmonary artery pressure to the accessory blood flow that we have discussed, and we found that there was no significant correlation, because even with the absence of systemic arterial supply, 3 patients had no PH, but with present still 4 patients did not have pulmonary artery pressure. So in our study it did not correlate well with the pulmonary artery hypertension. Sometimes you can also find the structural abnormality, as we can see in 2 cases. Here the band of tissue which is extending from right lung to the left lung at the base of the lung, which is also known as horseshoe shaped lung, which is rarely associated with the Scimitar syndrome. And as I have initially discussed, the lung abnormality may not only related to the volume loss, but it can also extend to the tracheobronchial abnormality. So here we can see there is an occlusion of right upper lobe bronchus, completely occluded, and only the middle lobe bronchus which is patent in this situation. So in our study, we have found that the right lung volume, which was majorly correlating with the pulmonary artery hypertension, but the limitation was it was a small group of patients, that is only 13, and we have compared the data with the normally which is available in the literature, and not the control was not something what we have done from our center. So in conclusion, the severity of lung volume loss correlates with the pulmonary artery hypertension. More the lung volume loss, there is more chance that they will be having infantile presentation, and there is a more chance that they will have pulmonary artery hypertension. And infants are more symptomatic, as we have already seen, and that is available also in literature. And systemic arterial supply does not correlate with pulmonary artery hypertension from our study. So I acknowledge all from my team. Thank you so much.
Did you take into account the pulmonary venous obstruction that typically occurs?
Yeah, because we couldn't do cath in all the patients. So by echo, wherever, actually there is a fallacy in this. If you look at the normal pulmonary venous flow, it will be triphasic flow. But a normal scimitar venous flow without any obstruction will also be a monophasic flow. There will not be any atrial systolic atrial wave will be seen. So wherever the mean of less than 4 was there, that we have excluded that there is no obstruction. But cath we could not do in all the cases because somewhere infants and somewhere really very sick. Yeah. Yeah.
PA pressures are normal for them. So the one whole lung is absent. You see absent corresponding pulmonary artery, absent bronchus.
Yeah.
But PA pressures are normal.
Yeah. So even this is known that, but there are two aspects to that. One is the presentation. If you see, the common presentation of lung hypoplasia happens in neonates most of the time. They will be presented with cyanosis and again in PH and heart failure, because secondary to the pulmonary artery
Agenesis
hypertension.
of lung, they are asymptomatic.
Bilateral, unilateral.
Unilateral agenesis
Yeah,
of
so it
lung.
will. Yeah, I agree with you. There are some case reports where even the adults, just they have gone for the medical checkup and they have seen there is an extreme levo-rotation or dextrocardia, and then CT scan has been done. But actually, I feel it's all depends on the development of the airway and perfusion and ventilation, how it is happening. So that will determine if there is a PH or not. So if there is a ventilation which is inadequately happening, if there is a perfusion which is inadequately happening to that particular lung, and that is producing some of the vasoreactive factors that will cause the pulmonary artery hypertension.
So actually, if you don't have adequate alveoli, but perfusion is maintained, if the vasculature is near normal, maybe that segment produces vasoreactive substances.
Yeah, actually,
unlike in agenesis where there is no vasculatory and there is no lung substance.
Yeah.
So they don't develop pulmonary hypertension.
Yeah.
But if you have some perfusion maintained, like what we have in isolated duct supplying one lung, you have severe pulmonary hypertension.
Yeah, so I want to see, that is altogether a different substrate where there is a unilateral absent of pulmonary artery, and that artery is supplied by the ductus arteriosus. That lung is supplied by the ductus, and then continuation of distal hilar pulmonary artery. So in that also we have almost 10 to 15 number of patients. So some of them has presented with PH, some of them were asymptomatic and just had repeated respiratory tract infection and were evaluated. So in conclusion, what I understood is there is a ventilation perfusion mismatch that happens, which triggers the vasoreactive agents, and that leads to the pulmonary artery hypertension.
Absolutely, and that is why I think in some patients who have with scimitar syndrome, they present very early with severe pulmonary hypertension is probably because of this ventilation perfusion mismatch.
Yeah, so one postulation to ventilation perfusion mismatches, the hypothesis that if the lung volume is less, that is obviously going to contribute lesser for the ventilation. Right. So that's what we postulate from this.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.